Oh my god. How did I get... Okay. I'm not gonna question it. I'm not gonna question it.
Lost in the shadows.
Sushi, look at us. It's like us in Phasmo.
But I've got a fire.
I didn't let myself
fall.
So good.
Every hit taken.
We died? Well, pretty much. We got money for it.
Lessons in pain from which I've learned when the world says I'm done. I'm just starting my run through the darkest of nights. I will find. You won't get me down. You won't get me down. I get back on track with a peaceful attack. I always come back around. I'll never back down. No, I'll never back down. When worlds converge and dreams ignite, there are millions to witness. Champion arise with every challenge. We push with all our might. Stars in the heart of the storm. I am reborn. I am reborn. You won't get me down. You won't get me down. I get back on track with a peaceful attack. I always come back around. I'll never back down. No, I'll never back down. Taking the ride, make it, break it, hate it, I shine. You won't get me down. No, I'll never back down. Can't take me
this final journey to being called champions of the world. Swiss has gone and passed that World Championship. It's me, Renmar Santa Cruz, here with Husky and Gideon Q, and it's knockouts time, baby. How are we feeling, gentlemen?
It's time to ring the bell. Ding, 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 ding. Let's show some excited. I'm ready to see who will be the team that has the best shot at becoming champion.
I love it that the fact that, you know, Swiss stage was a good appetizer until we got to the very end of it. And now, even before we completely set the brackets of upper and as well as... wait, really? Those are just appetizers? Not even like glimpses of the main courses yet? Like, that's how fantastic our World Championship has been so far in real life at Cadilla's Gaming and Esports District, where every detail is a celebration of play and entertainment. Go online, search for @Cadilla Gaming for more information. But yeah, gentlemen, as we said, we are down to the final 8. SRG, TLID, Vamos, Team Spirit, Falcon Esports, NIP Flash, Fnatic Onyx Philippines, and RRQ. That is a stacked top 8.
It is a stacked top 8. Some of them are even unexpected, right? And I think for example, Falcon Esports, I think some people don't even have them in the top 8. They probably had teams like Aurora, Kase, right? It's a free-for-all, right? The teams are surfing up their signature dishes.
Yeah, and hopefully we do get to see a lot of signatures today. We have a majority of our top 8 teams are champions of their respective regions. While, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, in the case of Team Vamos and RRQ Hoshi, they are the runner-ups of Malaysia and
Indonesia, respectively. This is the long road to December 15 and Axiata Arena. It begins on December 7th today with the first set of best of 3 matches. Well, first and only set, because as we mentioned, once we get to the lower and onwards, it's BO5s. But yeah,
Vamos, and as a Cavalry fan, I think that it's a little sad to see that it had to be drawn in Team Spirit versus TLID, but at least nobody's going to get knocked out, right? We're going to get a taste of each and every single one of these teams, and then once we get into the best of 5s, that's when we really know, hey, I've outplayed you and not...
But it really depends on like whether you want the long road or you want the shorter road, because if you go down to lower bracket, after today you have kind of a 3-day break before you have to play on stage again, but from that point onwards, it's just games after games after games.
We got a little switcheroo, folks. The very first match of the day, if I'm not mistaken, should be Falcon versus NIP Flash. That is the opener for today. Our second match is Fnatic Onyx Philippines and SRG, followed by RK Hoshi and Vamos, and Team Spirit versus TLID. Again, we will repeat it because I can already sense there are people still commenting, hey, what are the matches today? They're there on your screen. And number 2, how are people getting eliminated today? Nope. Whoever loses today are going to the lower bracket matches. So yeah, we're set. But I still think, I completely agree with the thought that even if you could say, yeah, we got 2 lives, after this you still got another best of 5, still a good amount of chance. I don't know. With how stacked our top 8 are, I will be very scared for the teams that make it to the lower bracket, like after day 1.
It's just longer games, right? Best of 5 all the way, and some days you have to play 2 best of 5s. You have to think about it. If you make it to 14th of December, you gotta play 2 best of 5s potentially at Axiata, and then you have a best of 7 the day after. So I don't know, I prefer to be on the winning side and just go through upper bracket.
I mean, keep in mind, at the end of the day, these are not only new squads, but squads who are looking to build a legacy of their own up against teams who are, like, again, really, really fresh in the next generation, which I've been raving about all up from the beginning of the year all the way up till now. It's going to be an exciting time to see because it's a struggle, a real struggle, because we're not talking about teams who are, you know, slacking behind. These teams are hungry for this championship win.
Yeah, if you have just joined us for this World Championship, if still after everything that's happened in an unforgettable Swiss stage, you are just joining us now, it's the dawn of a new legacy in MLBB esports. So many new names in terms of organizations and individual players. I mean, Swiss stage was full of just absolute chaos because of the best of 1 format, a lot of the surprising picks, strategies, a lot of upsets and intense storylines, and yeah, legacy building. I feel like now, with everything going around MLBB esports, how this is being branded as a dawn of a new legacy, definitely good performances in the knockouts will lead you to start building that from the moment you get that first win.
Absolutely. Not to mention that this is one of the championship that we don't have any previous champion organization, so whoever takes the trophy is going to have basically a new name, right? And if I'm not mistaken, only Curtizi is a 2-time hopeful with NIP Flash. And can you just imagine that thought, that NIP Flash not only has a chance to win it all for Singapore, but also give Curtizi his 2nd trophy.
Look, I know a lot of Filipinos in the community itself are going to be like really critical with Aurora already dropping out. And again, Aurora was one of the teams that was hoping to make it into that top 8. So I've lost a lot of guest coins building up to this very moment. But at the end of the day, it really feels that each one of these teams, and especially with the imports that have been going around, there's always going to be some kind of Filipino representation. It'd be really awkward to go into the grand finals without one of them, whether it be a team or an import.
Yeah, but then I feel like if ever a team that our grand finals has no Filipino player or organization presence, that just hammers in the point and that idea of, yeah, it's the dawn of a new era. There goes the PH era. Here comes whatever we are going to end up labeling this new era to be, if that does happen. I mean, the Filipinos are still here. Excuse me. I almost kind of lost my cool there.
But like that fire under you, everyone.
Yeah,
Stop the flames.
You guys just know how to get under my skin. All right. I think it's time for us to highlight some key phases and some key names up on your screens right now. The top 5 in their respective roles. So, Salvo, Super Friends, Diablo, Skylar, and King Kong.
Yeah, and I think just to give a disclaimer to people who might have different opinions, this is just based on statistics alone, right? It's not like, oh, he is supposedly the best player or the MVP candidate. And to be fair, all highlight players of the Swiss stage were gold laners, so we can't just fit all 6-7 of them on the screen. But for me, I think the standout is Sawo, right? Like they call him the
Yes.
godfather of EECA. He's been here like what 5 world championships, 4 or 5 world championships, one of the most veteran ones from the region, and the fact that he's still able to put out this kind of performance and kind of shot call his team to victory is very impressive.
He's literally grown up in MLBB competitive environments, right? It's crazy to imagine from a region that basically didn't have a competitive scene to play in community tournaments to now showing, hey, there is a scene that is alive and kicking. But then I gotta point out Diablo, out of all the KDAs out there, number 2, number 3, number 2, number 1, and then there's Diablo who's like 5th in KDA, 4th in DPM. Does this not say that the EXP lane in this current meta kinda sucks? You can't measure the impact of EXP with stats.
Yeah, you can't really just base it on stats alone. There are things you really have to look into in other aspects of the game and within the game itself to really judge it. Speaking of, this is how we selected what's on your screen right now. The selection is based on stats, gameplay, and gameplay impact to their team. So those things that we can't really judge by numbers solely alone. Doesn't mean that they are the best player in the role though, folks. So it's just there to mainly also highlight players in the Swiss stage, give flowers to players who maybe might get overlooked. Any close contenders for the same roles here? For Sawa, I think you can also put Edok up there from RK. In the EXP lane, I mean, my brain immediately goes to K-Bomb, but for Skylar, there goes to Kelra. So even though that's just a small a snippet of the top players in their role, there's still so many arguments you can toss out for other players in the respective positions.
I mean, the youngest player we have in the tournament is literally 16 years old, right?
Hicomania, baby!
Yeah, delivered our first ever Savage in the M6 and the 3rd in the M series history. You cannot have asked for a better performance from this young gun.
I mean, not only that, I would say that I would make an argument for Yehezkiel, because I think Yehezkiel at this point of time is a little underrated. People don't see his impact in a game, but his stats are actually ridiculous. He's currently number 1, holding the lead in terms of KDA by a very large margin.
And of course, if I'm not mistaken, that Innocent is also 2nd in that ranking for the top KDAs, and of course with his performances up against CFU Gaming in that final match of the Swiss stage, I'm pretty sure he's definitely up there. So all throughout the knockouts, as we've done in the Swiss, we will be updating you with stats, numbers, and of course the storylines coming into, well, the upcoming matches. On to the next one though, I think it's time for us to put a little bit more focus in our upcoming match between NIP Flash and Falcon Esports. Singapore versus Myanmar, and their representatives is the Flashy Ninjas versus the Soaring Falcons. So, start with you, Gideon. What are your favorite qualities of the Singaporean NIP Flash team?
Wow, really, putting me under the loaded gun here. Oh, I would say that NIP Flash has definitely impressed me compared to all the other representatives. I mean, obviously a majority of them are going to be repeat representatives coming in from Singapore, but coming in this time round, I definitely feel that there's a new energy around them. I thought their weakest link was going to be Vanix at the beginning of Swiss stage. I think he was one of the big hitters coming into this particular game, especially when he's up against Benny, who's also been doing a phenomenal job here for the Team Falcons.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, NIP Flash also has evolved over time. You look at individual players like Diablo, right? Some people used to say he's a lot more selfish, he likes to play his own, but right now, he's a big team player, big fight setter that really allows the rest of the team to kind of function as a unit. And I personally like the growth of teams that go from one highlight player to just the whole team is now a highlight reel, and I think NIP Flash has achieved that over time.
Yeah, again, if you're not familiar with the story of NIP Flash, there was a time they were pretty much called Hades Esports.
That too, yeah.
Hades' impact on the team, but then eventually they've outgrown that, and each player you can say from NIP Flash, I gotta agree with y'all there, you can really make a case to say that, no, they're the ones carrying the team, because they all know how to do that at the right times, right?
Oh yeah. I think a certain level of Hades Esports has influenced the rest of the players, right? Because again, the big issue was, do you have enough mechanical skill to keep up with this, young import coming into Singapore and really just gapping a majority of junglers in that local scene of MPLSG. Now, I would say that every single one of these players play a really, really good push and pull, heavily dependent on that draft. And let's not forget, out of everybody there, JPL has always been, hey, get on my shoulders, I'll get you over the finish line.
Yeah, like he doesn't talk much, right? Sometimes you forget that JPL is actually one of the big backbones of the team. Like he hates being interviewed. If you get him to talk, it's an achievement unlocked. But overall, I agree. He is very stoic, very strategic, very tactical in his calls. He goes for those guaranteed engages. But when you watch him play, it really felt like he has never really dulled over the years.
Yeah, it's interesting because NIP Flash, with the domination that they've had over MPL Singapore, it really feels like they're like the old emperors going up against the rebellious young kids in Falcon Esports. When you think of Falcon Esports and what they've done, especially in their impressive win against SRG, it's like I can't just help but paint them as that, you know, the kids going against the narrative. If NIP Flash is a little bit more traditional, you got Falcon Esports bring out, I don't know, a blend of punk and hip-hop somehow. That's like MGK fans.
It's the next generation, right? The hyperpop is coming in and it's coming in fast because initially I would have imagined that Falcons, after seeing them for just so long, that they maybe have hit their peak. You know, they hit like a plateau that they couldn't get over. They finally hit their ceiling. This is all this team is ever going to be. But no, they've continued to show that there are new heights to soar and really bearing some true talons here for these soaring Falcons.
Yeah, and the Falcon team, one of the standout members for me, if we talked about JPL from NIP Flash, for me it's KidX. So I got a chance to actually chat with him a little bit after their victory over SRG, where it was actually him like telling the rest of his team, guys, just keep believing. So you know, isn't that very, you know, Naruto of it? To say, just believe, just believe. That's just what he just kept. That's what he kept telling them, to really just stick in it, and eventually they got their win.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when you have the mindset of, I feel when you believe in something so hard, you really feel unstoppable, right? Like, you look back at how Falcons Esports kind of play their game. Even in other tournaments, when we see Falcon Esports, like this roster show up, you cannot help but feel that they have a lot to give, right? Even if they don't make it far. Back then, they feel like an aftertaste, you know, after you had a full meal. But right now, I think they are the main course. They are one of the teams that has the best chance to restore the Myanmar region to its former glory. They did say they want to usurp what Burmese Ghouls gave us in M2, and I think right now, they are on track to make it happen.
Myanmar as a region has always been very interesting, with all their previous representatives always having a new flavor to them. But the one thing that has stayed consistent with their left and right claws is they know how to team fight, and they do it especially well. We've seen times where Falcon Esports is like, okay, that's a throwaway game. Clearly, it's whether it's our draft that's giving us a lot of issue, or generally the whole team just doesn't seem to be on the same wavelength. But when they are, and they're fine-tuned to each other, it's deadly.
Yeah, their chemistry is impeccable. They have been playing together for 2 years. So I think that's an overlooked story for this squad. Like, it's not just them trying to get out of the shadow of the fantastic legacy that Burmese Ghouls left after their almost perfect run in the M2 World Championship, when of course they fell to Brent Esports in the Grand Finals, a best of 7 Grand Finals. But this is a squad, just a group of friends who've been playing together for 2 years, who just want to achieve what many may deem as impossible for the region of Myanmar and the Myanmar team, to become a world champion. And I think with Benny, Dax, as like the finishers of the team, they're looking very, very strong.
Yeah, when you look at the performance on Swiss stage, you can clearly see that not just Falcon Esports, but I think the region as a whole, right? We talk about the Khmer region, the Myanmar region. The way that they fight is so ferocious, it's so visceral, but it's so nice to look at. And sometimes when you have a bunch of players that just know what to do and they just kept running at you, but they kept getting what they want, it feels like you are so helpless. And I think in this case, Falcons have really sharpened those talents.
Yeah, I think I remember when we would be on the desk together calling for a Falcon Esports game. One of the words that you often use for Falcon is just disgusting, Gideon.
Yeah, no, what is it? Really is, because you feel very helpless against this team, especially when they're dominating you that hard in team fights after having like a pretty secured early game, right? We've seen time and time again that maybe the meta is about comebacks, or maybe a 5k goalie just it doesn't cut it anymore for the mid game. But it's a combination of things. I feel like, you know, the draft has played such a big part of it that, and especially with the expansiveness of the hero pools that we have seen thus far, there's too many relationships in the network that you can't have a completely dominating draft unless you really, truly drop the ball.
I think now that we're talking about this, it's a good, again, to highlight what we call the left and right claw of Falcon Esports. It's Benny and Dax. Those 2 young gentlemen really just do so much for the team. They are carries in the most traditional form of it all. They know how to carry the team. just when you need them to. So of course, that is Falcon Esports, but they're gonna be going up against NIP Flash. Knockouts begins today, and it begins with them. Singapore and Myanmar, two teams who for the longest time have lived under a shadow. Whether it's a shadow of their own defeat or the shadow of a glimmering run of ghouls that have come before, it's their time now to build a new legacy. Greater than ever is what they want to be. Welcome to the Knockouts!
The quest to become greater than ever started with 16 of the best MLBB teams from around the world gathering in Malaysia. After a harrowing 7-day Swiss stage, the first ever in M-Series history, 8 teams remain to spearhead the dawn of a new legacy. The game is never over. That much is true, because the ultimate battle is about to begin. In the face of peril, they stood tall. Selangor Red Giant embarks to complete the Golden Road and make history before their home crowd. No matter how much brain rot they encounter, these Sigma Rizzlers always take the W. They are Team Liquid Indonesia, and that's what they do. Vengeance fueled their drive to extend their lives. Love them or hate them, Team Vamos is here, and they're after that title. The bastion of the Western frontier remains mighty amid adversaries. From dark horse to true contender, Team Spirit seeks to remain unbeaten. Myanmar's representatives have always been a force to be reckoned with. Now, Falcon Esports aims to fly higher to establish a new legacy. This side, dubbed as the Singapore All-Stars, is living up to its name. NIP Flash exceeded expectations. Now get familiar with their game. As the lone defender of their country's title, only challenges await. With the power of family, can Fnatic, Onyx, Philippines take home another trophy? After struggling for so long, the King of Kings return. Stronger than they have ever been, they vow to make the world shout, Viva RRQ Hoshi! 8 teams fighting for the same dream. This is where legends are born. This is where history is written. This is where they become greater than ever.
The increased presence of M-Series first-timers, absences of stables in M6, surprising results of the Swiss stages. This all ushered the dawn of a new legacy in the World Championship stage. While lots of questions remained unanswered, only one is certain, and that is we will be crowning a new champion this year. To all the MLBB fans across the globe, salamat datang ke M6 World Championship Knockout Stage. My name is Rose, and I am your host for today. An amazing 4 best-of-3 matches are waiting for us to witness today. And like what I always say in MPL Malaysia, kawan di luar gelanggang, lawan di Land of Dawn. As 8 of these teams are all good friends outside of the battlefield. However, they are the fiercest of foes in the Land of Dawn. And without further ado, the first match that we will be witnessing are the high-flying Falcons of Myanmar going up against the Singaporean All-Star team. So, teams around the world, this is your moment to be greater than ever.
Making their way to the arena, pushing boundaries and setting new standards for Myanmar, the high-soaring team rises to the occasion. Let's cheer for Falcon Esports!
A powerhouse with a unique brand of gameplay, representing Singapore with pride. The Singaporean overlords take the stage. This is NIP Flash. From the bronze to the brains, arming their soldiers with the best tools possible. Give it up for both coaches and analysts of both teams. Heading on in, fist bumps to show their final last bit of respect before we hit the land of dawn.
And those are the stars for our very first match of the day. The first best of 3, Falcon versus NIP Flash. It's time to get to the nitty gritty. We spent a good amount of time in the previous, we could call it the pre-show. In the pre-show, talking about Falcon Esports. So let's reel back and talk about NIP Flash. Biggest question, what's Diablo gonna end up with playing today? Because I feel like he's been the linchpin for NIP Flash draft, especially that high loss pick.
Yeah, it took a while for, I think, a lot of fans to get used to Diablo on something like a high loss, something that is that's less flashy and goes in the front line as compared to what he was before, El Diablo of the Singaporean region. But a part of me, there's this little feeling we might see one of his signatures come out, somewhere down the road, right? That Benedetta has always been a staple of Diablo. If push comes to shove, if they want to take the fight to Falcons, that could be something that they consider.
I have to agree, because I feel like giving high loss over to Diablo, I bet I can understand the sentiment. I agree with Diablo. Both of us have the same wavelength. We think high loss is hella boring. But the Benedetta being shown by Vamos might inspire the team to still go back to their playmaking ways.
Yeah, if I can remember correctly, it was Diablo showing up in MPLSG with the Benedetta in the EXP lane with a Revitalize that made more people start seeing the power for Revitalize for EXP laners. He said that in the past, Singaporean teams weren't a big threat on the international stage, but NIP Flash is a different story. Reaching the knockout stage feels like they are proving their doubters wrong. And yeah, compared to what Team Flash were back in the M5 World Championship, this is 100% a very different team. Singapore made it back into the top 4, top 3 podium at the end of MSC 2024 because of what NIP Flash did in Riyadh.
Yeah, and you can see that evolution from just a Hades Esports to NIP Flash, right? Like when this team functions as a unit, they were the one that took down, Homeboys, or currently the Vamos, majority of the Vamos lineup back in MSC, and you see that growth, the exponential growth for NIP Flash. If people are still not respecting the Singapore region, you definitely have to look at them now.
But it's not just Diablo that we have to worry about here. Vanix has been a standout for me. I would say that the most important part that keeps this team together is Cartesi. Because at the end of the day, if he's not playing a weird pick and he's playing more of a standard, either utility style mid laner, I'm going to avoid seeing the Martis for now, but that's only specifically against the Loi. Even his Farsa, very deadly stuff. Because of their push and pull, the only way a push and pull works is if you have somebody to fall back to.
Yeah, NIP Flash knows the power of versatility in key roles. EXP, mid, and of course the roam. Although, in terms of the roam, especially for JPL, there are 2 really standout heroes that it's funny because if you take one of them out, you can't always say you can default into his Jawhead because there's always going to be another better option than that. But for NIP Flash, that's like the second best option, but you're not just going to commit a Jawhead ban just to make sure JPL doesn't end up with a hero. So that's one of the tricky things about drafting against NIP Flash. Before we continue our discussion, folks, we just want to say thank you, because in Mobile Legends Bang Bang today, in the game client, we're celebrating 1,500,000 registered MLBB players.
Wait.
I think that's more than a million.
Is that a billion?
I think that's
billion,
a billion, 500 million.
Yeah, because there's
1.5 billion, right? Yeah.
Can we double check? That is 1.5 billion. Okay, it's billion. Oh, dang. All right, I was way off the mark. But yeah, way more people than I expected there to be. But thank you for being part of our legacy. So from December 6th to December 2023, join the event and complete tasks to get a random epic skin for free. Thank you for your unwavering support and for being part of our incredible journey in Mobile Legends Bang Bang.
No, very, very little parties can say that they have, what, more than 1/7 of the world's population registered in their game.
I'm doing the math in my head.
Yeah, right. It's like
That is-
over 1/7 of the world's population. That's crazy.
That is
Yeah.
an uncomfortable thought.
Yeah, we can. I don't know. I'm comforted by it. Woo, job security. But no, when you really think about, I mean, okay, to be fair, I have like 2 accounts in the game, so
Okay, I mean,
it's not like one person, one account, you know?
But realistically, having over 1 billion players, ready to go for this game has built this community brick by brick from when it used to be such a small thing, maybe even a Southeast Asian thing, some may say. Now it's a global phenomenon, and that's why people are excited to see teams like Falcons Esports to kind of bounce back.
Kind of perfect that in our mission to have our greater than ever world championship, we reached 1.5 billion in the game. So thank you. It's a fun fact about Benny. His dad introduced him to MLBB, but Benny learned fast and had to carry him every match. That is adorable.
Yeah, like what Merkel would say, W dad.
W
Dad.
You gotta-
Dad.
Hey man, again. It's a scary thing for parents these days to be introducing these types of games
Yeah.
over because MOBA is a very infectious style, a very infectious genre, some may call it.
Yeah, and it's great because in the casting desk we have a story like that too. Naisu and his kids, Ingan and Brigida, he taught them how to cast, and then now here they are on the world stage.
To be able to cast a game is definitely a privilege, but I think it's time we get into the nitty gritty. As always, get into the technical side because it is time to draft.
All right, who's gonna go blue? Who's gonna go red? There is an uncomfortable win rate on the blue side right now for the M6 World Championship. It's not as dire as before, but little by little it's becoming a little bit more blue-sided for our current metagame.
I mean, we say that, but like prior to that was a day worth of change. On last day of Swiss stage, it was 51 to 49, and I think it's changed now significantly after those matches have been completed. I think by the end of the decider matches, we're probably gonna see a flip again.
Yeah, hopefully it kind of tapers out at the end. I think it also, a big part of it was also Bruno being introduced into the meta, and
that's
Red Side
true.
just started thinking, oh, now we have to ban the Bruno, right? We don't really get to catch a break, which in this case is something that NIP Flash needs to think about because we got Benny on Falcon, right? You give him that Bruno, you're going to be taking a very big risk. This Matilda ban from Falcon really wants to take away that fast tempo for NIP Flash, which is something that I want to bring up as well because over time, NIP Flash's team fight, the way that they move around the map has really accelerated, and they do it so cleanly, especially Hades and JPL with the way they take these initiatives, and Vanix being able to follow up individually has really stunned, I think, a lot of our viewers out there.
I have to agree with that too, but I haven't seen the main staples being taken away. The cornerstones, as we mentioned before, we've seen teams actually ban out high loss or even get more interesting when it comes down to the Suyo Alpha relationship in terms of those styles of bans. I mean, obviously, you got the mid-mage bans, that's totally fine, but if it does come down to it, I feel like Falcon might just go first pick Blue Yo, or they might just get the high loss later down the line. Maybe R2, R3, B2, B3.
But again, Falcon Esports, it already suffered 1 loss, but the best Bruno is in their hands, but they swerve, and the high loss pick that's been the staple for Diablo is what they take away. They're willing to give the Bruno to Vanix.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a premonition to what Diablo might pick, right? He's been playing that high loss for so long. Even this Bruno is very interesting right now because NIP Flash, they don't really care too much about the Bruno. We've seen Vanix on the Moskov plenty of times, and they are one of the first teams that found a direct way to deal with the Bruno, right? Angela Ling was their answer that time. Angela Ling plus a Bruno. So we'll see if that's going to be the case. I wouldn't be surprised if they just take Hades Hero right now.
I think, well, I feel like either, Suyo seems to be the go-to option, right? Especially if you're going blind to a lot of these matchups. They're going to lock in that Bruno. Now, here's the scary thing. I feel like Falcons were expecting the Bruno at a bare minimum. The Hilda is going to be interesting because the question is, does that mean that Falcons can build a composition that denies Hilda that early game pressure?
Yeah, I mean, no, Alpha is still going to be open for them, but sort of like that's NIP Flash telling them to, like, go ahead, pick up the Alpha, we're totally okay with it. So with Hylos already there, that sounds like one of them was Alpha. Oh no, excuse me, it was Phovius, interestingly enough. The Granger I get, the Phovius to me is where my not really scratching my head, but it's curious.
Yeah.
It's incredibly honest though, right? They are just straight up telling NIP Flash that, hey,
Yeah.
our high loss is going into the roam. We will give you this Phobius XP matchup. But now the question also kind of pivots to, is this Hilda going to be in Diablo's hand, right? Like, is NIP Flash willing to give JPL that Hilda, which we haven't seen throughout M6 so far. But I suppose the Phobius is a decent answer to any heroes that have mobility, right? If you go for the Suyo, I mean, the Bruno also has the sliding tackle that enables that passive cooldown a lot more.
But here's the problem: when you throw your deterrent so early on in that draft, it tells NIP Flash, okay, just play around it, just have less dashes in your composition, so he can't get proc that Infernal Pursuit as often. And even during team fights, we've seen most of the times that Phobius gets so deep into the team fight, he can't get back out. And because Matilda is banned out, now the real question stands: does that mean that Falcons have to play a very heavy dive composition, just charge at your face, chase you down, and try to outlast you?
Yeah, it looks like that's what might be they're leaning into. In a way, it looks like Falcon wants to pick fights. They took away heroes that make dive a little bit more difficult and even the low Yi. With those two gone, yeah, they can definitely opt to just go pure dive. But the picks of NIP Flash, they can honestly go that way too. In a way, it's sort of Falcon signaling to NIP Flash, saying that, hey, we're confident that we can fight a better fight than you.
I mean, confidence may be key, but the mid laner is still missing, right? From Falcons' side, I would have imagined that their mid laner would have been picked up a little bit earlier on, considering there's already 3 bans in there. With the follow-up ban being Tigreal, I'm not sure what would make Falcons' comp really jive, especially in the mid lane at this point. I mean, you could say Vexana, but at the same time, there's a lot of heroes that can just eat that damage.
There's 2 in my mind.
Yeah, there's one in my mind
Go
right
for
off the
it,
bat,
you
right?
first.
First of all, I see the Tigreal ban. I'm thinking Faramis, right? I know PX7 has played Faramis a couple of times before. If you are talking about full dive, that's exactly the hero you want, right?
Yeah.
To go straight into the enemy front lines and taking out the Tigreal eliminates whatever AoE crowd control that NIP Flash has, unless they do a Sabo and get that Baleric for themselves, which feels unlikely for NIP Flash.
Yeah, I agree with the Faramis too. The way the Angela. If this is a Valentina ban on the side of Falcon, that's already a signal that high likely they're gonna go Faramis. But no, they take away the Cho.
Respect to JPL.
There's 2 on NIP Flash I'm thinking of, either the Aurora or maybe even surprisingly a Zask for them. Because a Zask presence might actually just throw off the pure dive of Falcon. Because when you have that one big Nightmare spawn, and his ultimate already committed as well with the Dominator's Descent, you're gonna have to recalibrate your team fight just a little bit. Because if you don't handle that big shrimp, you guys are gonna get toasted.
We see what CFU did with it.
Yeah.
With that nasty Sky Piercer build.
Yeah.
Not fun to deal with. I think both are very valid, especially when you have to deal with the Glorious Pathway. I do feel that it would be interesting to see if they do go for Vexana. Anything that gives you an extra body works well against Granger, because Granger does not pierce through those targets, but instead,
Of course.
they show the Jawhead they're going to leave their mid laner for the very last. Single target lockdown and pickoffs, the JPL special for the Emperor.
And I think one problem now for Falcon is that if they take Valentina, there really isn't any ultimates that she would like. I mean, you could wait for the mid laner for NIP Flash, but showing a Valentina in this pick without knowing seeing the first 4 picks of NIP Flash feels like a weaker approach, right? So Faramis should be the choice. They take the Roger.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Find a way.
Who's going where?
All is forlorn.
It's a Roger jungle, right? Yeah, it should be.
It might be a bit too
Wait.
slow. He's very slow in the jungle now.
He is very slow in the jungle.
Into a Hilda, nonetheless.
I'm not entirely sure where they want to go with this, to be perfectly honest, right? Maybe you can utilize the iframes from Lycan Pounce to dodge away against the unstoppable force, but then there's a lot of disruption that happens in between, whether it be the worldie, whether it just be, Hilda being Hilda. We'll see how NIP reacts to this, because now even for the mid lane, it's kind of awkward to say, yeah, I want to take the Valentina, I will take your Eternal Guardian, but there's not a lot of targets I really want to hit other than your front line.
It does solve the problem of the Granger, right? Like, one of the biggest things about Granger is that he starts the fight, but he needs a finisher.
Hey.
The Roger is the finisher for Falcon, so you have this chunk plus execute damage. This Veil pick for Curtizi, inspired by Stormy for sure.
Yeah.
Talk about anti-dive, that is one right there.
Yeah, it looks like they want to cancel out that dive with winds of their own. Leo, Inga, let's go.
For the first time in M6, it's the Pride of the Burmese versus the Warriors of the Lion City. Jose Ian and Leo at your service, bringing you the opening bout of the knockout stage.
Opening bout, and you can already see from the draft, it's going to be an exciting match. Once again, the Roger is back in M6.
Did not expect to see it this early, but I did hear down the grapevine that Roger might make a comeback. Hey, if Fredrin can rock the Swiss, maybe Roger can do the same for the knockouts. One more look at the draft for Falcon Esports and NIP Flash going into game 1. Ladies and gentlemen, best of 3, upper bracket, double lives on the line.
Not so much pressured compared to the last day of the Swiss format, wherein the final series went into 3 games. Speaking of the final series, we also saw the Veil perform in the hands of, I believe, Stormy.
That's right.
And it was phenomenal again in terms of disrupting the dive composition that teams can go up against this Veil. It can be a good pick for the side of NIP.
Throwback as well to that Jawhead. We all saw those picks in that series. Folks, the M6 Pass available from the 18th of November all the way till the 29th of December. Complete all active tasks during the event to reach level 75 for free. Get amazing rewards including Claude's Battle Emote, M6 Glory Avatar Border, Baksha's Battle Emote, and the new special skin Baksha Dauntless Shield for free. Get a couple more skins for your marksman coming through, as well as an elimination effect, trail effect, and more for you to unlock. That is the M6 Battle Pass. Checking out the map again, relatively mum here, a minute in. More action down in the lower quarter in the XP lane. A lot of our analysts actually gasp at Royal Milk's pick, the Phoveus into the Hilda here.
Yeah, I mean, Royal Milk has been performing phenomenal. Again, we're just gonna assume that he's gonna try and go for the aggressive zones, just trying to keep Benny, Vanix preoccupied to be able to not dish out the damage that NIP Flash needs.
Ooh, check it out. With the Little Wanderer control, Dax able to bully JPL and Hades out of the river. This is odd as NIP Flash's lineup. You want to be the aggressor. You want to be the one moving faster. But look at Diablo, who's getting held hostage in his own lane.
And we've seen this so far from Falcon Esports. Their mid trio, and how Trex likes to call it, the triple X. Dax, PX7, Kid X, known to be the aggressors, even if their opponents have supposedly an early game centric lineup, because right now NIP Flash, they have the Hilda and they also have the Joyd. But looking at Joyd, there's an early ejector play coming in, but look at the Eternal Guard to bring it down. Royal Milk will get the kill, but Kid X on the other hand will also fall down. A double kill for the Phoveus.
Oh no, Diablo gets one! PX7 on the docket up next! Royal Milk catches a triple!
And the triple X rotation of Falcon Esports, led by Royal Milk, gets the triple. They were wondering about the Phoveus pick. Supposedly, he's just going to zone out the members, but he gets 3 kills of his own.
Shades of Falcon Esports versus BTK. Game number 2. Royal Milk went ham with a CC nonetheless, but this time, it seems like he turned back the clock on that Phoveus. Now, once more, these roamers, Kid X, JPL, the Emperor, starts the fight off with an ejector, and the answer, Kid X with the revitalize. Let's see, round 2. How about we do this again? One more go at the turtle.
Okay, another go, same story goes. Ejector, but the sustain is there from Kid X. Now the glorious pathway for Falcon Esports to counter attack. Here comes Royal Milk, just trying to dish out the zone. Forces to use NIP Flash to walk away, but look at the turtle guard connecting onto the back line as Dax gets the turtle. Wants to go for more, and the leg is bound to be there. He gets the open fire, now focusing his target onto Cartesi. And a strong start for Falcon Esports.
I could have sworn the PX7 was going to go that much faster, but oh no, Diablo in trouble!
And they're not even done, just ganking up on Diablo. Kid X and Royal Milk will pick up the kill.
Amazing use of the Eternal Guard, as if Phoveus and Hylos wasn't enough. The extra body for Falcon Esports in that clutch objective take. Almost 3,000 ahead are the Burmese. Royal Milk just holding it down. Diablo cannot rotate out. One of the main strengths of the Hilda neutralized.
They're just having a hard time really with the mid and XP lane of Falcon Esports, and we've expected NIP Flash to actually have a better early game, considering the fact that they have a Joy to add early game damage, and of course the ejector that can he always use to initiate for those clashes. But the problem is, it's always Kid X that he managed to throw, and that's why initiate for those clashes. But the problem is, it's always that he always use to to initiate for those clashes. But of course, the early game, considering the fact that they have a Johaid who has early game damage, and of course the ejector that he always use to initiate for those clashes. But the problem is, it's always Kid X that he manages to throw, and that's why Falcon Esports, they always have a response. In fact, the ejector is actually helping Falcon Esports because Kid X is just able to cast the glorious pathway right on time.
I got a couple of things brewing in my mind. Number one, Curtis is not dealing enough damage just yet. Mind you, it is just about 4 minutes elapsed in the game. Number one, it should just be a matter of time. Second, Vanix and Benny. The fact that it's been quiet for our gold laners, meaning they've been getting the gold lane experience, you know, in farm, in dueling. Is that dangerous? Do you think that Vanix is playing towards an inevitable late game once more? Because so far, in a lot of NIP Flash's wins in the Swiss, that's been the story.
It's always the late. You have to rely on your late game carries to actually dish out the damage and eventually get you the win that you well deserve. But again, NIP Flash, with the current aggression of Falcon Esports, we also know that Falcon, when they are in control of the early game, it's not necessarily gonna reach the late game with how flawless they've been executing the macro plays that they're well known for executing.
I hear you. The bird lanes, I'd say, are better in the mid, and then I guess the earlier parts of the late game, we have seen them slip up and drop the ball here and there. So with that said, this is a great start. Falcon Esports 6-3. NIP Flash holding on for dear life, trying to get those skill enhancements on Curtizi, trying to make, I guess, ends meet for Diablo. Great decision on the handsome devil, El Guapo Diablo here, picking up the Fury Hammer casually, because...
So right now, NIP Flash, it's still safe to say that in terms of mid-game, they can actually, again, counterattack. We all know the power spike of Hades. When it comes to the Alpha, the third turtle, at the same time, when Curtizi is activated, they can disrupt, again, the dive composition of Falcon Esports with the Windblown paired up with the Windstorm.
And that is what NIP Flash are holding out for. One more turtle. I'm guessing with the delay in the first, this might be the count for the second/third turtle coming up about 30 seconds from now. Kid X holding this river brush. Vanix and Benny rotated out already. This fight's just waiting to happen.
Okay, now Kid X zones out Hades. JPL forcing them to back away. No major objective yet for Gods for Falcon Esports, and now they're just going to play the waiting game and wait for the neutral objective to respawn.
Big ticket item picked up. Curtizi, his first built item, the glowing wand, should make Kid X and Royal Milk's life a little more difficult. Diablo bullied out from his lane down bottom. Down a third of his health. Yeah,
up against the hill with the Phobius. You're bullying El Diablo, and even up against two, it's like you're unbothered. It does nothing to Royal Milk right now. Just enough for Falcon Esports to get the turtle, but a shutdown coming in from Curtizi to bring down Dax, and Diablo goes in for the kill. Unstoppable kill coming in from Royal Milk. But Diablo picks up the kill as well as Curtizi gets the turtle. Here comes the response coming in from NIP Flash. Windstorm just to try and keep Falcon Esports at bay, but here comes Benny and Royal Milk as well. Picks up another kill again for Falcon Esports.
Right in your face, Royal Milk running through NIP Flash. 6-0-2 on this Phobius, 6 minutes in. Jose, that's a kill per minute.
That's a kill per minute. Falcon Esports just really upping the tempo, upping the pace, catching NIP Flash off guard. They're not giving enough position for JPL or even Diablo to make crazy plays for the all-star teams of Singapore.
A turtle apiece. Despite the delay, we will still see one more spawn in the upper quarter. A minute and a half about before this comes through. The final turtle. Are we still on schedule? For all the NIP Flash fans watching, can Hades still hit that power spike?
I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to take a longer time because, again, it's 0-3-1. And up against Roger, in terms of farming speed, in terms of scaling up, you'd expect that Hades would have a much better time compared to Dax. That's why Roger is out of the meta. But right now, JPL goes in with the ejector, countered down with the Eternal Guard. Glorious Pathway is there, but Kid X is the first man down. NIP Flash caught off guard there, but Falcon Esports has a response right away. NIP Flash manages to get Kid X.
A master stroke from the Emperor. The counter engage, throwing bodies underneath that turret. Despite there being an Eternal Guard, hey, nothing stings as much as an early game turret. That was a win for NIP Flash, closing the gap, keeping that lead up to just about a 2,000 gold distance. Falcon Esports, they got to slow down, but I feel like that's not how they want to go, especially when you have a Roger. I don't think Dax is making the most of it. He's doing all right, but I think in his head, when they were planning this with the draft with Coach Nyocha, with Coach RC, they were expecting more.
Yeah, and you can really see the effect of Courtesy with the Veil. The game plan is working for them right now, especially for the last clash, because they were able to counteract the dive center again of Falcon Esports, and now starting things strong by taking control and hold of this turtle bit. Here comes Kid X with the glorious pathway, like an coming in from Dax, but still Hades gets the turtle, puts the spear of Alpha connecting onto 3, forcing Kid X and the rest of the members of Falcon Esports to walk away.
Huge movements from NIP Flash, denying Royal Milk the late entry. Falcon Esports let go of their lead, slowly but surely, just 1,000 ahead now. Here we go, another fight. JPL's in trouble.
But here comes Vanex though. Kid X, is he going to be able to take down JPL? JPL walks away safely. Now Falcon Esports, slowly their lead has been diminishing. For some point it reached up to 3K, now it's down to 1.6K.
Not enough of a hold. I can expect in the next couple of minutes, unless something changes drastically, Falcon Esports will lose this lead. Kid X dropping the glorious pathway, deterring the push, coming in mid, check it out. Diablo underneath, defending against Royal Milk, no wave, no dice.
Okay, that was a good play coming in from Diablo. They don't want their mid lane turret to be exploded by Falcon Esports, because again, it opens up the jungle of NIP Flash, and now they're going for more. JPL with the ejector onto PX7, diminishing, deleting him off the mid lane, and here comes the clash. Falcon Esports trying to answer right back, and look at this, Royal Milk will get the kill. 3 kills, a double kill for Dax, and a kill for Royal Milk, and Ben is still working on trying to bring down Diablo, but on the other hand, here comes the glorious pathway coming in from Kid X, forcing Vanex to retreat, and the Dax Sonata will bring down NIP Flash!
It's a wipeout! Falcon Esports is eating good, and they wiped out NIP Flash, converting into a turret in mid and in bottom. Dax was just waiting. Who let the dogs out?
Man, when you thought Falcon Esports was behind, again, their macro play was intact despite PX7 being the first man down with a beautiful play, mind you, by JPL with the ejector. They were still able to turn things around with proper timing, proper entries, and of course, Benny just dishing out the damage along with Dax.
PX7, an amazing threat magnet. He knows that NIP Flash needs to take him out. If they don't, then trouble could ensue. The fact that every single time he just is able to let go of the EG, I think that was key to making that wipeout play possible. Now with the Lord spawned, upper quarter, Hades playing footsies. In comes Kid X.
Glorious pathway, Hades has to walk away with a Spear of Alpha, but Kid X just doing good job keeping NIP Flash at bay, and all of a sudden JPL is gonna fall down. The next man might be Diablo. Gonna taken down by Royal Milk and Kid X, and the attempt of NIP Flash to try and contest for the Lord has now been foiled above Falcon Esports.
The Burmese are about to put the Lord on lock. Major wins for Falcon Esports in the past couple of minutes. Not to say that they heeded my word, but they suddenly turned it up to 11. They understood how urgent it is to keep a hold onto the mid-game power spikes. And here they are, almost 9,000 gold ahead. Royal Milk, look at the damage he's dealing, man. 40K, 707. All right, about 11 minutes in, he's gone past a kill and assist per minute.
Yeah, and just looking at the lineup of Falcon Esports, technically, you have 2 marksmen. Well, at least Dax is a fighter assassin, but still Royal Milk exceeds every single member hero in the Land of Dawn in terms of damage dealt. Just literally performing out of his mind in the trance right now. 707 for a Phobius.
Homie's in a state of flow. You could call him Flovius. Mid lane in trouble. Barrages, salvos, assaults thrown out by Benny. They break through. Top lane up next.
Kid X just doing a good job keeping NIP Flash at bay as the rest of the members works on bringing down 2 inhibitor turrets. They still have the Lord, but NIP Flash gonna make quick work of that. Now they're set their eyes on the bottom lane turret. No minions yet, but looking at the lead, that's a 10.2k gold lead for Falcon.
Surgical. Falcon Esports understand very clearly the stakes at hand. Around this time, we've seen over and over again in the Swiss, some teams would just let go. Some teams would drop the ball, but no, not Falcon Esports, not like this, not right now. In comes the Emperor!
Oh! JBL tried to dive in the unstoppable force, but Cortese, last attempt, and Vanix will bring down 2 members. Here comes Diablo on the chase, just trying to cut off the exit path, but Benny answers right back with a Rhapsody, and that's Sonata connecting onto 3. Vanix must stay alive. 3 members of NIP Flash left. It's gonna be a 3-on-3, but Falcons, they have minions down bottom.
2 for 2 here. Down goes the final inhibitor. Penny picking up that Sky Piercer, making sure that no prisoners are taken. Falcon Esports will wipe out NIP Flash once more. That seems to be the only solution here. The way I'm seeing NIP play Flash, NIP Flash play is if anyone is left, I'm thinking Vanix, I'm thinking Kurt, a defense is possible.
Yeah, and I do agree with what you're saying. NIP Flash needs to play flashy. With Cortese leading the charge, we saw what can happen when the wind blow and windstorm connects. They just need to scale up to have more damage and try eventually to burst down the members of Falcon Esports. But it's still not impossible for NIP Flash to come back from this game.
They gotta make the most of the fact that Falcon Esports right now aren't building much magic defense. Ladies and gentlemen, check it out. It's mostly just tough boots that's keeping them safe from Curti's CC and damage. So if Kurt somehow just finds the perfect moment, if he's able to channel his World Championship genes once more, ladies and gentlemen, the only player left in M6 to go for that double World Championship run, then maybe NIP Flash can take this from underneath Falcon Esports' nose. 9,000 gold ahead, lower quarter of the map, that's where the Lord spawned. Hades going for the dance.
Okay, Eternal God already casted JPL. Just giving vision here for NIP Flash. No commitments yet for both of these teams. Looking at Diablo, he has control over the mid brush. Gonna get vision again for NIP Flash.
Hades holding on to that pixel brush. Diablo pushing back. JPL holding that river brush. In comes Kid X, there's a throw!
Oh, the unstoppable force got stopped! But NIP Flash manages to bring down Dax as well. Kill spree coming in from Betty, forcing Falcon Esports to retreat. Here comes Vanix, and a shutdown from Kurt Atizi. Picks up a double kill. This might be a green light for the Singapore All-Stars.
Massive win for NIP Flash, 3 for 1. Hades off the map, but that's not gonna stop NIP Flash. Benny going for the back here, looking for that segue play. It's just him and Kurt.
Okay.
Kurt and him. Can he do this?
Can't forget Kurt. One of the most mechanical gifted players manages to flicker out. Sonata will not connect as Benny works on clearing out the minions, forcing NIP Flash to react. Being down one more hit, and Diablo says no and goodbye. NIP Flash, it looks like they're back on track.
I'm still here, amigo, says Diablo, despite having a tough 15-minute game. Keeps PX7 honest. The Lord's still standing. And despite all that, the push and pull, the back and forth through the map, coast to coast, Falcon Esports just checks in and says, hey, Lord's still here, let's take it slow. They've lost the lead, Ingan. 4.5k left, 15 minutes in.
It reached up to 11k, no inhibitor turns for NIP Flash, but one thing is for sure, they still have their determination to come back from this game. He might fall down, but in exchange for JPL, body slowly falling down, Royal Milk in the front, once again, a shutdown for Diablo. Betty's gonna fall down, the next target is Royal Milk. Cortese with a windstorm to bring him down. Diablo once again with a double kill.
Another massive win for NIP Flash, 3 for 2. The numbers don't add up for Falcon Esports. They're losing even more of the lead. They're down to 2,000. And Dax and PX7 are on damage control. They're just making sure the waves don't crash back. They're making sure that there's not much of a backlash on the map for Macro to come get them in the behind. NIP Flash gonna score Lord. No, not possible. Falcon Esports blitzed it.
They blitzed it. Because again, Hades wasn't in the picture, so there was no reason for NIP Flash to go in for the Lord. Fortunately for Falcon Esports, they got another major objective. But it seems like NIP Flash is ready to defend this. They're ready to trade for this. As long as they're 5-man strong, they can do this. And again, looking at the time, it's 16 minutes. Husky has been telling us that when it reaches this point, the Bruno is going to be activated.
Loki, that's why I was expecting NIP Flash to just have Vanix throw a worldie in there and have one crit steal it away. But Dax, all the more locked in, takes it for Falcon Esports. The first Lord of the game. Second, this time marching through mid. It took a while for them to score that second one.
Yeah. It took a while, took a lot of skills, took a lot of bodies. Kill scoreboard 26-16. Lord sieging in the mid lane.
Check Diablo in the back. Dax on that man-to-man defense. Glorious Pathway drop by Kid X.
Unstoppable Force got stopped. They're gonna make quick work of the Lord. Royal Mech just trying to go for the crystal damage. PX7 will fall down. Job now working on the backline onto Benny. That's not gonna connect. Hades is gonna fall down once again, but NFP Flash still has 4 members strong. Here comes Royal Milk with the Infernal Pursuit. Vanix with the last effort wind of nature, but Falcon Esports will lock down on the turret.
Roger puts in the final clause to score game 1 for Falcon Esports. Dax bringing back an old favorite.
First game of the knockout. Didn't go in a flash, but for sure was hella fun, hella exciting. These two teams are in it for a treat. We might see Leo a best of 3, a game 3.
I just can't get over the fact that the meta is still evolving. Mere minutes into game 1 of the knockouts. I'm excited to hear what our analysts think about that, Roger, because even I was 50-50 on it. Ranmar Santa Cruz, Husky and Gideon, talk to us.
Woo, what a start. We thought it'd be Falcon Esports heavy, but at the end of the day, that Phoveus pick that we doubted, it made the Mer Lions drown in milk, in royal milk. It spiked up so fast and was just the problem for NIP Flash the entire game.
Yeah, it really boiled down to Falcon just snowballing out of control way too early that it put NIP Flash on the back foot the entire game, because we saw when Falcon had a 10k goal lead, NIP Flash had no inhibitors at a lore fight. NIP Flash could actually put up a fight, and only if they were not that far behind, I think this would have been a closer one. But still, props to Falcon for getting that lead in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that NIP Flash, the early mid-game played terribly at this point, right? Because again, a lot of the macro decision-making was kind of strange. Like at a certain point, when do you stray away from the game plan? It looked like the early game plan was to make sure that this Hylos wasn't strong enough to scale into that mid-game to be that frontline tank that Falcons really need and will have to only depend on the utility from the Glorious Pathway. Second problem that I did see, NIP Flash, unfortunately, when it came down to quote-unquote scaling, once that early game is gone, sacrifice those turtles. Royal Milk is always going to be a problem, and therefore you should be playing to your win conditions, and that big win condition had to be Vanix. And I felt like they put a lot of resources into Kurt, but at the same time, unless you have the right items, then it's not going to drag on. That could have ended had Kurt not missed.
That Veil, I feel like it's a revelation. We saw it in the SRG game. We saw it here again. At one point of the game, it just becomes a big -1, an instant -1 with a full combo coming out from the mid laner of NIP Flash. And they fought back with good pickoffs. And I think Falcon Esports were just surprised by the sheer raw output of a Veil that once Kid X goes down or Royal Milk goes down, you see their formation crumble.
Yeah, it reaches a point where it really doesn't matter who Kurt catches as long as it's one of the big 3, right? Either PX7, Dex, or Banny. You get caught in the knockup, you just disappear. Like, it's either a -1 for FCon or a -1 for NIP Flash if those ability misses, which is sort of what we saw in that end game. But overall, I have to agree with Gideon. I think that the macro decision in the early to mid game wasn't exactly the smartest. I think that's something that I personally would encourage people to look back at how BTK played these macro games when they're behind. They are willing to let it go, but NIP Flash just kept banging their heads into the wall.
Yeah, it's about understanding what the trade-off is. Whether it be gold, EXP, or neutral objectives, you need to be able to get something back, especially with a composition that's so heavy on the economy. People like Curtin as well as Vanix don't come online until they have about 3 items, unless you get like that very early start. But the only person who can technically do that would be Vanix, and they were hoping that Diablo could kind of supplement them. Oh, if Cartesi gets a full combo, especially when he hits level 4, they'll be put very, very low, so we need Diablo to kind of shred them down, maybe even Hades, but his job is too difficult. At this point, I think that Falcons understood if we can stop Hades early, we can eliminate Diablo from these fights, we should be able to dominate the early game, but from that point onwards, we need to be careful not to overextend, because again, Falcons need to respect NIP Flash, even in those late game fights. If somebody gets caught up by Cartesi, that -1 on PX7 dragged out this game for the next 8 minutes.
Yeah, and the mid laners were big components of each lineup with how much they respected each other. At some point, it felt like Curtisi just had one mission. Whenever I see PX7 or that Turtle Guard, they're going boom. It's like, take them out right out of the gate. But of course, that also went into Kid X. Looking now at this Roger pick, of course, the problems of Roger in this current metagame, I feel like to me, were evident. Kind of a little bit slower, but it looked like Falcon built for this. You have a strong side EXP laner who was confident he would win that lane, and he did. That takes away one of the biggest problems of the Roger, because now he has big help in the major objectives, a high burst, high control mage, and of course, it's not the carry of this composition. It's actually the Granger and the side lanes. And the side laner, the EXP laner, Royal Milk, definitely did his job.
I'm telling you, man, if you end the if you go 5-0 in the first 5 minutes and you come out with a Thunder Bell and your second item is an Oracle, you deserve to be MVP. Like,
that's how you know you're popping.
that's how you know you're popping.
He also went Rupture. Yeah, the Oracle is just, you don't see it a lot, but it's so smart. At one point, I told you guys, like, oh wow, he built the Oracle. That's why his shields from his enhanced basic attack was so good.
Yeah, Royal Milk is one of those players that some things don't leave him. He used to be the, the one trick, the go-to Yuzong guy. War Axe into Oracle if he's ahead against his opponent. Same thing for Phoveus, but instead of War Axe, it's Thunder Belt. So really smart itemization to make sure that he can not only dominate, but really be, hey, unless Vanix has got 3 items, so specifically the Malefic Gun, if you don't have that, I'm gonna just beat you up. I'll be in your face.
Yeah, and as we look at the highlights, I think a lot of what Royal Milk did in this game is embedded in our memories. He was one of the biggest problems of NIP Flash, and even though they'd get Kid X, they'd get Dax, problem was they just could not get the Phoveus down.
He's just too durable. This was sort of like the second turtle fight, if I'm not mistaken, but actually the first turtle fight overall, because it got dragged out for so long. But still, I think the fact that Royal Milk at this point of time, like almost 6 minutes in, he has 5-0. If you're NIP Flash, you will have to start respecting what this guy could do. He is diving turrets, he is diving your backlines in fight, and no one can peel him away.
Yeah, I think that NIP Flash, but if I had to change anything, a couple of decisions that needed to be done. Number one, when it comes down to early wave clear, PX7 on this Vexana definitely clears the wave a lot faster in comparison to Curtisi until Curtisi gets a couple of items, right?
Yeah.
Just naturally based off of kit. I was hoping that NIP Flash would make these more mid-centric rotations and try to invade the jungle to bait motions out of Falcon Esports. Maybe catch them off guard later down the line, because again, Vanix could easily rotate down for these early fights, especially pre-level 4. But once a couple of things that we did notice. Unfortunately for our man Vanix, getting chunked out in lane didn't help. He was a level down in gold as well. The laning phase did not go as well compared to when we saw him during Swiss.
Yeah. Both your side lanes sort of collapsed, right, for NIP Flash. Like, Vanix's lane, okay, right? It's a matchup thing, but Diablo's lane, that one was a complete disaster. It got completely locked down as a Hilda, and when you don't get to leave the lane, you don't get to apply pressure to the Roger, and it doesn't help that every single objective fight, Diablo just couldn't do enough in that early to mid game.
Yep. And that's game number 1. Hopefully we'll get to see an answer from NIP Flash with that Phoveus. I mean, with Falcon Esports, like, they got the hot hand right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they even think about prioritizing the Phoveus yet again for that game number 2, just so that Royal Milk can continue. Wait.
You hear that?
Yeah, I hear it. Oh, Gideon?
Was it that loud?
Yeah, I can hear the crinkle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I felt it in my soul.
Hey, man. Hey, I mean, I would imagine that all Singaporeans are going to need a little bit more fuel in their day with Hello Panda.
Yeah, it's a crunchy biscuit filled with creamy chocolate. Well, in this case, is it filled with strawberry for this one?
This one? Yeah, it's with strawberry.
It's strawberry.
Want one?
Yeah, sure, of course. So yeah, this is our ultimate snack to keep us energized, level up your day, and visit Hello Panda's website for more. So yeah, the Phoveus should be a problem, and I think if I'm Falcon right now, I just look at Royal Milk and go, "Want to run it again, man? I know you want to."
One more time. Give it.
Just one more time. It's a best of 3. If it doesn't go well, game number 2, we'll put you in a different hero.
The fact that it's such an honest draft,
Yeah.
where they started with a high loss, and then they immediately revealed Phoveus after that, and it worked out exactly how Falcon wanted it to be, I think just run it again.
Yeah.
Let NIP Flash respond to it.
I think they're probably not going to get blue side this time around. I am interested to see whether NIP Flash wants to take blue side away from the Falcons, or whether or not they're going to stay to the red side and maybe switch up the bans a little bit more. I do feel red is a little restrictive in that particular sense. However, maybe they go back to, comforts. I'm expecting JPL to get a Cho pick pretty early on this time around if they are on red side.
Let's see if that will happen in the draft. But of course, from November 22 to December 29, the M6 support chest will be available for a limited time. You can purchase the support chest for 50 diamonds to get a large amount of pass EXP with a chance to obtain the basic M6 pass if you don't have it yet. So if you don't want to get the pass directly, you can try using the support chest so that you can get that. And by the time you get the pass, you already have the XP already won with that, already embedded in it. So use the basic M6 pass to instantly activate the M6 pass, unlock additional pass rewards, and immediately get Claude's Challenger Spark. That is the M6 support chest, available for 50 diamonds each in the game client.
I'm so close to the statue. I'm so close to this thing right
Really? I am nowhere close.
I am so close.
Look, as an analyst, I live my life in the most efficient way possible. And every single day, if you have enough diamonds already, you don't need to splurge on so many support chests. You just buy one every single time, and then you go into those daily missions instantly to get a little bit more EXP. I'm maximizing to see how big of a discount I can get.
Yeah, don't forget your challenger missions too, because I'm getting close to like 100 games and you get like 3,400 pass EXP.
Oh yeah, it's
3 levels. Yeah, there's 3 levels once you reach 100 games. So just keep playing, and you know what? Just like a man who believes in himself, who just told his teammates to keep playing and they eventually won against SRG. Kidex also has some more words about the rise of Myanmar and Falcon Esports. He's going to be coming up on your screens right now, and to him it feels like a fever dream that they've reached top 8 with a different lineup than the old Falcon Esports lineup. Again, the last time we saw Falcon Esports at the world stage, that was the likes of Justin and gang. And now here comes the Databayo We Believe squad of Falcon Esports.
It's always very, very vindicative. The vindication you feel, right, when all that hard work pays off and you're finally on that world stage, you're facing off against teams that you used to idolize, you kind of imagine them hoisting a trophy, and you take them down, and now you're one step closer to that, to achieving that dream. I can only imagine, right, being in Kidex's position.
Or at the very least, at a bare minimum, if people don't know how that feels like, just think about it. Previous Falcons, Justin and the gang, now known as Mythic Seals, you beat them 4-3 off the grand finals on home soil. Oh, that's good enough for me.
And of course, here they are now. He's been playing for a considerable amount of time. There was still an MPL Myanmar, the 5th season. And just the development of this group, they were the same, I want to say bloodline, but the same trajectory as Phoenix Esports, if I'm not mistaken, from MSC 2023, when Onyx Esports won the championship then. And even then, there were already a few eyes, but people were just like, give it a bit more time. And finally, they got the time, and they're in the world stage, 1 game away from advancing over the Singaporean All-Star team.
Yeah, and getting into the upper bracket, which is sort of like a shortcut, right, to that finals. You win 2 upper bracket, you're in the upper bracket final. You're guaranteed top 3 on the M series stage.
You get to skip so much. It is a huge advantage here for teams who are winning in this decider matches to sort out the bracket. But I think there's still opportunity, because I don't feel like we saw the full extent. We saw a good extent of Falcons, but we didn't see the full extent of NIP Flash, which is, I need to see that first before I can believe.
Yeah, I think another thing that we can tell from NIP Flash is, we pointed out, especially in the early to mid game, the macro decision making are rotating at the right time. It seems like they weren't hitting in what we see as the right points to apply pressure on the side of Falcon Esports. But as basic as you can get in the objective team fights, when we thought the gold laner, the Granger, Benny would single-handedly end the game already up against Curtizi's Veil, that happened because I was screaming at the top of my lungs while that was going on. Guys, just get the Bruno to clear the mid or something first, and then you dance around the objective. So let's see if they'll improve on that. But here's the head-to-head between Dax and Hades.
Yeah, see, like Hades is a big farmer, right? Like GPM-wise, the stats favors Dax a bit more, but it also comes down to like how these two teams play, in a sense where Dax, he is not afraid to get his hands dirty. He's all for the KDAs. But for Hades, you put him on Alpha, he becomes more of a supportive role for his team. It plays for Vanix and Kurt, like we've seen even in the previous game.
Interestingly enough, the average turtles where we see the biggest difference for Dax here. 62%, having a 12% advantage over the 50% coming in from Hades. And considering how the Swiss stage actually played, I'm surprised that he only has a 50% average turtle rate.
Yeah, that should be at around 3 to 4 turtles more than Curtese, and that's sort of big because when you really think about it, a lot of our games, or the games that they fought in, were best of ones. You know, it wasn't before. You just had like 2 best of 3s at most. So big numbers, and
I'm pretty sure after that game they went backstage and they're like, please don't, we don't want to do with Phobias.
Yeah.
Oh, but they also get rid of the Hilda alongside it. That's interesting. Do they really want to try and shut down Royal Milk at this point, or does this also signal that NIP Flash want to play a traditional assassin?
You think that Angeling is going to be a thing again?
Oh, probably not Angeling. Maybe like Hayabusa, Hayabusa plus X. Maybe Hayabusa Farsa with the Granger in the gold.
Yeah. The main signal for this from me is that NIP Flash will definitely first pick that high loss, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be, right?
That's easily just gonna be a Diablo high loss pick already locked in. And at the same time, teams that go and ban the Phobias and the Hilda first phase are the ones that say that it's sort of respect. I don't want to say it's fear, but it's respect that they know that they're up against a lane bully. And it's not saying that Diablo's not confident in the lane, but they'd rather just not take that option of trying to outduel a lane bully.
I just don't want a bad matchup, right? Like, I'd rather have a more comfortable time in that lane.
Play it safe, comfy.
I would say that respect demands fear. And I think, unfortunately, in this case, NIP Flash have successfully tried and downloaded what Falcons are trying to throw up. But with the high loss gone, at least the first picks are out of the way. I'm expecting the Cho or maybe even Blueyo to show up.
Yeah, Cho or Blueyo would be good for me. You know what? I wonder if we can see a Phobius pop up. Excuse me, the other purple glue. I thought of Phobius.
Probably not first pick.
Keep in mind that a lot of power picks are coming through. Yves hasn't been touched this time round, allowing it to go through, but as a first pick, allowing Falcons to respond to it. There's still the relationship between Yves as well as the Valentina. We've seen some teams succeed, other teams not so much, but it looks like Joy. That's disgusting.
Oh, brother, that is aggro.
It is disgusting, but holy cow, you are literally just revealing one of your trump cards in the first pick. I had a lot of people ask me like the kind of the pros and cons of Joy. The thing is, as good as a late game, glass cannon Joy is, there are a lot of conditions that needs to be met, right? You have to be able to find a backline, you need to be able to deal with crowd control, which Joy struggles against, and you just break at the slightest of touch in that late game. So the fact that NIP Flash is going to go for Joy signals me that there is an ulterior plan to it. Maybe the Angela might come true.
I mean, sure, maybe the Angela might just come through, but this is so weird. Granger, Lo Yi together straight away. I mean, yes, Granger was doing all right, but when you already see the assassin, especially one that has so much mobility, it's difficult to land these Death Sonatas or even line up the Rhapsody. Not to mention, I get the Lo Yi pick, but I would have preferred single target lockdown, or at the very least guarantee your peel first.
That's a chasing show.
Of course, the power picks, and it's the show. And they need a little bit more macro presence, so they do pick up the Moskov. With the Joy diving in deep, they're going to need to supplement that, so a marksman that could protect himself was the best option for NIP Flash. Well, Falcon will get Kid X's Tigreal in their hands paired up with the Lo Yi. This could be a strong wombo combo centered lineup for Falcon Esports, while for NIP Flash it's a little bit more individualistic when you look at it.
Yeah.
They don't need to sync so much as a team. They can go off, take their micro fights, and then eventually collapse onto whoever's remained. While Falcon clearly is going to play as one.
We've seen NIP Flash kind of pull off archetype of this comp, right? It's all about isolation, where JPL kind of opens up the front for Vanix and Hades to dive that back line. It exactly feels like it. But again, we haven't seen Diablo's pick just yet, right? That could be the X factor for NIP Flash.
What if we already see it? What if they
show?
And what if it's a Joy in the EXP, like what Fried Chicken did?
What would be? I mean, I'm thinking of all the potential counter matchups. I mean, yes, the focus is technically gone, so unless it's like a or something who just doesn't mind taking the damage, at least you can fight back in the lane. But it's mainly about priority with the matchup in the first place. So I'm interested to see whether or not it does get flexed. If anything, I would say the Cho is more likely to be flexed overall, but then you're taking it away from your boy JPL. The next couple of bans, we finally see the mages start to come through. The relationship is gone now. No Yves, no Valentina as well. Suyo has been banned out by the side of NIP Flash, and I think they're going to double down on getting rid of these junglers. Force them back into Granger Roger?
Yeah, probably ban a Hayabusa. I mean, Hayabusa is also a decent ban because as much as you want to play isolation, Hayabusa is not the easiest one to catch.
But
you do have a Cho Moskov, I agree.
I mean, it's a give and take, right?
Yeah.
As long as somebody is eating those spells, somebody else on the other side of their team can look to apply damage more effectively.
Alright, what's the last man gonna be?
Oh, they ban Alpha here.
Could also. Oh no, there.
So they ban the Hayabusa, yeah.
Go with the Hayabusa instead. So yeah, I think us assuming that this is going to be more in an isolated team fight style from NIP Flash that they've shown before, it seems like that's true already with the Hayabusa ban. So for Falcon, I wonder if they're just going to go, if they're going to pick up another chunkier EXP laner so they can hold a solid front.
Make some noise for your
She's not chunky, but she's definitely going to hold front very well with offense. And now NIP Flash are going to have to really decide if do we still want to double down on the isolation style team fight, because CC is amazing at winning that.
You don't want to get caught by the curtain call as well, right? Like,
I'm thinking whether Diablo wants to play something wild and crazy.
what, Benedetta again?
Maybe not Benedetta. I think this could be an angle for Badang.
Yeah, dude, I was thinking that too.
The good old days. The good old Diablo Badang.
Just bring it back.
I mean, it's a possibility, right? You have ways to kind of, knock the implosion out of the way. You can basically one-shot everybody in the back line.
Yeah.
You've got the disruption. The only thing is that you're not providing the utility that you are hoping your team needs. Ooh, Vexana gonna get locked in from the side of NIP Flash. It looks like they've really diverted a lot of their attention to the jungle as well as the mid lane.
Yeah, it's a Khalid.
Oh yeah, okay. So nothing too crazy. It looks like at the end, NIP Flash, they kind of swerved their priorities. They went now for prioritizing matchup in the EXP lane by saving their EXP laner for last and then waiting to see what Royal Milk was gonna pick. Or jungle or gold, because this Granger could still put... No, I don't think...
No, I think it has to be a
That's
gold.
gold, yeah, it has to be a gold. Against the Khalid and the Joy already. And even the Cho. You need something else in the jungle for Falcon.
Oh, man.
Something that can kind of stem the bleeding. You kind of like put a break to the pace of NIP Flash.
Ooh, what if they go Fred?
I think, honestly, Fred might not be a bad
Might not be a
option
bad
at this
choice,
point.
yeah.
Because at this point, if you play Alpha, the Vexana is not going to allow you to play the game. Same goes for Cho. If you decide to go for Ling, it scales up way too slowly. You don't have any
You're so
targets.
smart.
Good call there, Renmar.
Yeah, well, I saw the Tig, Low Yi, Granger together. It's like, oh, that reminds me of BTK. Oh, they can go Fred.
They can.
Great pickup. And yeah, let's see. You mentioned it's stem the bleeding, disrupt.
That's the tempo breaker right there.
It breaks the tempo. I wonder if they can dance to it. Let's see. Will we see game 3, Leo and Ingan?
It's just a matter of time before we see Falcon Esports soar high and fly high if they do take down NIP Flash in a sweep. But the way NIP Flash choked out Dax, you see that, Ingan?
Yeah, I mean, a while ago, even if Royal Milk was actually performing very well from the start, 7-0-7 start, they were able to turn things around and extend the game to their favor. But unfortunately, it's just that Falcons Esports, they had a lot of neutral objectives to their side, used it to their advantage.
One more look at that draft before we head on into the battlefield. Cloud and Dexter watching from up above. NIP Flash looking to extend this series against Falcon Esports, who is white hot. Bringing back that Fredrin, picking up a thing or two from their fallen enemies in BTK.
You know, the scary thing for me is even though the Joy is a late game here that scales up, surprisingly, Joy has been performing very well in M6, getting a lot of early kills. And with the current composition of NIP Flash, specifically Diablo, on the side of the Khalid, you can expect them to be, compared to game number 1, be more aggressive, but at the same time, more calculated and trying to delay the jungling speed of Dax.
And that's the beauty of NIP Flash's draft here. They're super agile, super mobile. I'm expecting Falcon Esports has to pick very specifically where they put their big ticket ults. I'm looking at the implosion. I'm looking at the diversion. Oh, Kid X here, down to a fifth of his health. That's a TKO sent home early.
And you can expect NIP Flash to just continue the aggression, try to gain mid control for at the very least for the first 2 turtles, not letting Falcon Esports to go for their usual rotation, force them to be reactive and not dictate the tempo that as we've seen compared to game number 1.
You see here the Emperor living rent-free in Falcon Esports' jungle, giving Dax one hell of an early game. A minute and a half elapsed. Benny versus Vanix. How do you reckon this gold lane matchup is going to go? You think it's going to be as quiet as game one? Like, nobody touched them for like the first 5 or 6 minutes.
I think it's going to go the same way. They're going to all focus on the XP lane matchup, especially when it comes to the very first turtle. But we'll see, because again, as much as possible, Falcon Esports, they want to activate Benny as early as possible, considering that Dax isn't is a utility jungler. So in terms of damage, they're going to bank on PX7 and Benny to dish out the damage early on.
Let's see. First turtle already spawned, lower quarter of the map. Check this bush. I think PX7 and Royal Milk no. And the Emperor will remain calm. They catch Diablo.
Okay, Diablo flickers out to safety. And this forced Falcon Esports to have a better control over this Lord Pit, Turtle Pit. Diablo, though, on the other hand, just used the quick Sand Guard. Here comes Royal Milk. With a dispersion rotation, KidX onto the backline with the ultimate connecting onto the members of NIP Flash, but the first man down will be Dax. KidX on the other hand getting caught up by 3. Here comes Hades onto the backline, onto PX7, forcing him to walk away. Another kill by NIP Flash. Royal Milk caught in the midst of everything. Will be able to escape though, but NIP Flash executed that to perfection.
Tis but a flaccid collapse. Falcon Esports not quite there yet. Curteasy taking out Royal Milk in the wake of that turtle take. NIP Flash have awoken.
And that's basically Curteasy. We all know NIP Flash in terms of their playstyle, even down to their draft. They're a really unorthodox team. We've seen a Martis mid, a lot of mid lanes that Curteasy can play, but here comes the save from KidX though. Benny, one more hit. KidX and PX7 working to try and save Benny away from harm's way, and NIP Flash will disengage.
So far, Falcon Esports, all they could do really is put up a wall between their cores and NIP Flash with 1,000 ahead, given that they're waiting for Benny, they're waiting for PX7, even Royal Milk. I'll tell you now, I think it's a very Royal Milk lineup. Oh, Vanix!
They're just waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike onto Vanix. That's a 3-man rotation from the Triple X mid trio of Falcon Esports. That was a kill they were willing to take any given day.
If they weren't going to play defensive, those pickoffs are going to cost them. But if they get it on Vanix over and over again, on Kurt, on Hades, then maybe we got something. Maybe the Burmese are cooking. Falcon Esports down 1,000 gold here. 4 minutes in the upper quarter is where the turtle will spawn next. 45 seconds. They aren't checking as much as JPL is. So that means Hades is getting free farm.
Yeah. And the thing is, towards the late game, if ever we reach that part, it might be alarming for NIP Flash. Even if they have the Moskov that has good macro presence, you can't just split push at any given moment, knowing that PX7 in Kid Hex has this Louis integral combination that just can lock you down wherever you try to do the split push.
It's a matter of time. It's not when, it's not how, it's if they can catch NIP Flash. The double Purify actually makes quite the difference. Curteasy and Vanix not going to be as easy to catch. Now, they're prepping up for that turtle take. This Eternal duel down bottom. Royal Milk versus Diablo. This is a very clear decision for both XP laners. Oh wait, there's a kick by the Emperor.
There's an angle coming in from JPL for the kick onto Dax. Energy Eruption is there, but Benny just giving out the damage and gonna bring down JPL. All of a sudden, Falcon Esports in full control of this turtle pit.
That's why Falcon Esports was delaying the whole thing, because they were waiting to collapse on the one. Diablo very low.
He has to recall there as Dax gets the turtle kid. X on the other hand, Implosion play. They're going for more, they want all the smoke, extending their lead, and Falcon Esports breaks the tempo of NIP Flash, now invading the jungle.
That was so hot. A kill and a turtle apiece.
Okay, as they steal away the purple buff, they might get a Sanders play. But here comes JPL just trying to delay the push that Falcon Esports can bring. Vanix clearing out the minions. Benny, here comes BX7 as well. Will they be able to save it? Dax though on the other hand, Energy Eruption onto JPL. Will they commit? Okay, they're not going to commit.
Not much of a kick from JPL. That's the beauty of these Fredrin lineups. And now suddenly it's Falcon Esports on the offense. They're the one asserting their dominance. They're the one moving in, proactively pushing forth their tempo. They're up 1,000 now. It looks like this turtle coming up in about a minute should be theirs too.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because of the presence of the Louis diversion, it gives NIP Flash some sort of urgency to try and check all the brushes you know, make sure that there's no there's no angle for Falcon Esports to make a crazy play.
And I reckon it's those angles that they're forcing on JPL that's getting them off time. Because, what, back to back now. Whoa, Curtisi!
Okay.
All day low!
Fortunately, JPL was able to block the Death Sonata. Here comes Diablo to try and force Falcon Esports to disengage. That was one Death Sonata away from a Curtisi takedown. And here comes the diversion. They might be able to sandwich Hades, though. On the other hand, Falcon Esports is taking their time and trying to look for the perfect angle.
NIP Flash's bruisers, the enforcers, putting up a perimeter. You shall not touch Hades. Curtisi back to the front lines after that recall. A TKO by Falcon. Not enough time they bought, though. And this is tough, because look, Vanix is pushing, and NIP Flash have initiative. They can say, we'll fight, or we'll turtle, and it looks like they can get away with both.
Oh, but Diablo, will he manage to get away up against 2 Raging Sandstorm? But against 2, that's not going to be enough. And this is the problem that NIP Flash is facing. Because of the presence of the diversion, they're forced to be reactive. They're forced to try and have the numbers game, have the number advantage, to force Falcon Esports to think about trying to go for the pickoffs.
And they forced their decision. They said, hey, Vanix, all you got to do now is push. And now Vanix, trying to run away. He's sandwiched.
Oh, sandwich! And get caught up by the Rhapsody of Benny. And that's the thing we were pertaining to early game. Eventually, they're gonna cast a diversion to try and look for Vanix, because we all know that this Moscow will just go for the turret pushes, go for the turret takedowns until he scales up. And Falcon Esports, they have some sort of urgency to try and stop that as much as possible.
And they made the decision for the Singaporean champions. They knew that they could only split push. They knew that Vanix wasn't going anywhere without an SOD cross map. No one was down bottom. They've already passed mid. You're seeing here, folks, a soft counter to the Moscow, because the diversion can hide you. The diversion can put you in places where the SOD cannot hit you, giving the Moscow one of its main strengths, coast-to-coast map control. Looking at the items right now, Benny is what, 2,000 ahead of Vanix.
2.1k gold lead. This is also considering the fact that Vanix just picked up his DHS, also has a Purify, but despite the presence of the Purify, Falcon Esports was able to take him down 2 times in the last 7 minutes. So that's how Falcon Esports is when it comes to trying to go for those pickups. They're decisive, and at the same time, it's always the proper timing.
It's a concealed play by JPL, looking for something. Checking that bush. Spots 3 from Falcon Esports. And look at Royal Milk. This is Royal Milk's signature CC. So far, calling the shots. It's as if the diversion wasn't enough to push back and cordon off NIP Flash from their formation. Even the jungle isn't safe.
Yeah, that's why the yo-yo blitz of Royal Milk has been crucial, because we've seen a lot of times that Diablo, you would want him, of course, to get control of the brushes for the unexpected Raging Sandstorm, but most of the time you've seen him just use the quick sand guard because of the damage that Royal Milk has been expending onto Diablo.
And it's a very similar story to game number 1. 9.5 minutes in, Falcon Esports have figured out a way to make Diablo play to their tune, to dance to their song. And it looks like the Burmese are ready to tango. Lord spawned upper quarter, 9.5 minutes in. Check the bush here. Hades holding that tri-brush. Kid X spotted by Kurt. And we get a reset.
Okay, we're gonna have a diversion. Royal Milk descending, Royal Milk onto the back line towards Curtisi. Forcing the Raging Sandstorm. Curtisi will fall down. That's 1 member down for Falcon Esports. Vanix on the other hand working on the bottom lane. They're trying to go for a trade. And now Falcon Esports full control of the Lord pit. They might be able to get the Lord away from NIP Flash.
Gets the SOD. No one home. JPL hunted down by Royal Milk, standing there asserting dominance. And NIP Flash just fold. Falcon Esports here, able to play the map. NIP Flash, a lot of their major wins here, Ingan, are just cross-map trades, mainly off of Vanix. And I think the fact that he's keeping himself safe, he understands, he acknowledges the fact that it's urgent, that he gets some level of farm, and that the map doesn't completely go sideways.
Okay, Hades will have to recall because he's going to be needed for the base defense for the first Lord that Falcon Esports has. But with a 4.7k gold lead, they might be able to take down an inhibitor turret. They're doing their best to try and kite away the Lord. Just looking at the damage coming from the Death Sonata, they have to walk away. K-Knight goes in with the implosion!
And they find another Hades force back. Diablo goes down, sacrificing himself for the defense, and they're not done. Holy Shield popped in mid, but Falcon Esports surgical unrelenting. They're still here for the push.
They might go for a diversion play right after this, but JPL wants to go for the kick, forcing Kid X here to walk away. They're gonna get a kill onto Hades. Now working on the turret takedown. They might be able to burst down the inhibitor up top.
Amazing positioning by Kid X and the retreat, the defensive diversion, the DD from Falcon Esports. Shout out to Ruby DD watching from home. Ladies and gentlemen, NIP Flash once more up against a corner. That top lane inhibitor, permanent damage. It's more difficult now for Benny to actually just trade against Vanix, because Vanix is going to keep himself safe. Vanix is never going to show himself.
You know, I was thinking that Falcon Esports might be able, I think they were overcommitting a bit a while ago during the top lane push. If giving an opportunity for NIP Flash to counterattack, considering that they don't have the implosion anymore. But the problem is Falcon Esports, with the lead that they established, even with the aggressive play from JPL, the kid actually connected to Kid X down to the turret. They weren't able to burst down any member of Falcon Esports.
Again, it's the worst possible target for JPL, but you can't blame the Emperor. He was going to kick somebody, and it's just Falcon are so good at these tight formations. They're so good at fighting underneath less than ideal conditions. And that's why Royal Milk, this hero, that's what it does. That's what the CC does. He wants you to fight back against him. That's why he rocks it with a vengeance. And looking at the items, oh no, what is that? About 2,500, 3,000 between Benny and Vanix.
Yeah, no Winter Crown, no Wind of Natures. There's a clear opportunity, window of opportunity for NIP Flash to go for the backline, eventually get the pick off onto Benny. But the problem is he has a Purify that can be crucial if ever JPL decides to go and penetrate the defense, go from the back. And Falcon Esports, again, we have to consider the fact that they have a Luyi. Top lane is open. At any given moment, they can make a huge macro play.
So far, NIP Flash have a grocery list of things to do to come back. They have to control the map, make sure it doesn't turn as red as possible, defend from that backdoor play up top, and they have to check bushes, even on their side of the map, to make sure that Falcon just doesn't come up from out of nowhere. So I guess one way to do that is to make sure where PX7 is, but that makes JPL such a easy target. It's so hard for the front line of NIP Flash.
Okay, they might make a repeat of what happened a while ago. JPL with a conceal. They don't know where TZ is. Here comes JPL though. Double man knockoff. Kid X goes in with the implosion.
And they go in. That river brush is going to be a death box. Down goes Hades. Down goes JPL. Royal Milk traded off for 3 for 1 so far. 2 for 3.
And Vanix got demolished in the mid lane. TZ is left to fend for himself. A full team wipeout for Falcon Esports. No need for the Lord anymore as they siege in onto the top.
So many bodies roll on revenge as Falcon Esports can smell victory.
The legacy of the Falcons sourced to new heights, sending NIP Flash down to the lower bracket.
It's a sweep 2-0 for Falcon Esports.
And a decisive one for this team. Man, just looking at what they went through, they won against Aurora, they won against SRG, they won against BTK, and now they won against the Singapore All-Star team, NIP Flash.
Falcon seems to be the kind of team that just once they find their wins, once they get their bearing, they just soar and soar and soar. I'm getting flashbacks to M2 here.
Well, it's scary, it's exciting, and at the same time, Falcon Esports a well-deserved win.
Let's throw it over to our analysts to figure out what they feel about Game 2.
Falcon Esports are not haunted by their ghouls. They are inspired by them, and they now move forward to the upper bracket semi-finals. Congratulations to Falcon Esports. What a game.
What a game. Right after the draft, we talked about the tempo breaker. You called that Fredrin. I looked over at our Barca colleagues. Milo looked at me and he went,
He knew it.
yeah, he knew. It was the 2-0.
Yeah. I mean, it was clear. It was clear. There was so many. It was so difficult for NIP Flash to really get back into this game, right? The only ways that they can do it is to actually punish their opponent's mistakes, or maybe try to make some off-tempo plays, maybe play with some macro fades. But we saw a very honest game from NIP Flash, and they always seem to want to clash head-on against Falcon from minute 1 until the snowball started to develop.
And now NIP Flash are in this tough position. Any team that loses this first round of the knockout stages has to crawl through 1, 2, 3, 4 series to make it to the grand finals. 4 BO5s to make it to the grand finals. While now Falcon Esports just needs to fight potentially at 2 more grand finals, win 2 more grand finals to make, 2 more series to make it to the grand finals. So many finality to it all because we just saw NIP Flash drop and Falcon Esports move forward. So now, of course, with Myanmar happy, we're going to be hearing from them in just a bit.
Yeah, we definitely, I mean, for me, I had a lot of things I want to talk about NIP Flash, right? From the draft and how they played that game 2. I know we've gone through a few of them in game 1, but I felt like game 2 was a big miss, right? So many missed opportunities. I don't mind a team playing honest, but sometimes if you're too honest for your own good, I think the sequence has to really change. I think Gideon told me that they probably woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. I kind of agree, but we'll leave it for later.
Yep, that's what it felt like. But of course, let's revel in the victory of Falcon Esports in Myanmar right now, as we're going to toss you on over to Rose to talk with the winning team.
The Flying High Falcons of Myanmar has just set the Singaporean All-Stars team down to the lower bracket with a clean sweep. Right now, I am with Coach Nyo Chao and Dax. First of all, how are you guys?
Thank you. I'm fine.
You're fine? Just now, he was like, happy. Are you happy?
Thank you. I'm fine.
You're fine? Just now, he was like, happy. Are you happy?
I'm so happy.
Thought it was a 2-1.
Fine.
Did he expected it to be a 2-0 or was he thinking it was a 2-1?
2C နဲ့နိုင်မယ်လို့ထင်ခဲ့ရလားဒါမှမဟုတ်ရှင်2-1လို့ထင်တာလားတဲ့
2C
2-0, that one I understood. He was expecting a 2-0. Okay. Now, Coach Nyo Chao, just now, everybody was shocked that you guys picked Roger. Can you share why you guys picked Roger?
Yeah. And Roger Pet, we already trained maybe 100 match in screen.
100 matches?
Yeah, Roger versus Alpha.
Okay, but why? Because Roger is the old meta, right? This meta, we haven't seen a Roger jungle. So why did you guys think it will work?
Yeah, I think if they were assassin, we need to play one hero, yeah, right? That's why we train outright hero Roger.
Oh, so does that apply to Fredrin as well? You guys like to pick non-assassin junglers?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Dax, since you're the one playing in the jungle, do you like assassin or not assassin?
I like assassin.
You like assassin. Why do you like assassin? It's okay, there's a translator. Why do you like assassin, Dax? Mechanic, fast speed, fast hand.
because
I want to
joyful when I play assassin.
Oh, he feels happy when he plays assassin. You know what? I agree. Unfortunately, I can't play assassin. Now, Dax, let me ask you, is there an assassin you want to play in M6?
M6 မှာ play ခြင်းနဲ့ assassin ဟိုရှိလား hero
Fanny.
Fanny! Are we going to see Fanny soon?
Sorry, come again?
Are we going to see Fanny soon?
Fanny ကိုမကြခင်တွေ့ရဖို့ရှိလားတဲ့
If they don't ban Fanny, we will pick
Fanny.
I love it. The chemistry of the coach and the player, both of them said it at the same time. Okay, now Dax. Just now, I mentioned to you that before you said you wanted to surpass whatever Burmese goals has done, which was in M2, right? You guys are slowly getting closer to the grand finals, actually. How are you feeling with that?
Burmese ကို surpass လုပ်မယ်ဆိုပြီးတော့အရင်တော့ Dax ကပြောခဲ့ဘူးတဲ့အဲ့သူတို့ကအရင်တော့ M2 တုန်းကဒီပါခဲ့တဲ့ team ဆိုတော့အခုတဖြည်းဖြည်းနဲ့ဒီ legacy ကိုလုံနိုင်ဖို့အတွက်ကိုနီးကပ်လာပြီအဲ့အတွက်ကိုဘယ်လိုမျိုးပြင်ဆင်တာလဲခန်းစားရလဲပေါ့
ပြင်ဆင်တာပါအများကြီးပြင်ဆင်တာပါ training ဟို screen တွေကိုမနာတဲ့နားရမရှိပဲနဲ့အများနဲ့ focus ပြီးတော့ train ပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အကောင်းဆုံးကြိုးစားနေပါ
I have prepared a lot and during the screening stage I have trained non-stop not even one day close And so we are going to be trying the best.
Dax has mentioned previously that he does want to surpass however far Burmese Goals has achieved in the M2, and as we can see, this kid right here has been training non-stop, not even a day off. Thank you very much to Dax and to Coach Nyo Chow. Congratulations on proceeding to the knockout stages. And with that, let us throw it back to the panel to break down what happened in this clean sweep up against NIP Flash.
All of the hard work and training, the non-stop action that this Falcon Esports squad has been on, looks like it's paid dividends. They've done so well throughout M6, and them defeating NIP Flash in that manner that they did, I feel like it's an even bigger statement. It sets the bar for the action we're going to be seeing in the very first round of knockouts.
Yeah, for both teams that came to the 3-1 bracket and, you know, ended up matching against one another, I didn't really expect the series to go this way. I was expecting it to go 2-1 either way, but Falcon, they really just dominated the playing field.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I think the NIP Flash, they're not playing their A game right now, and that's a little sad to see, especially now that they have to drop down to the lower brackets. They maybe need a little bit of pressure to kind of keep them going. But I gotta give props where props is due. Great drafting coming in from the side of Falcons. It looks like they continue to improve from the Swiss stage. We don't see as many inconsistencies like we saw before, and honestly, it really just boils down to, did I accidentally like whiff an ability most of the time?
Yeah, it was honestly great strategizing by the coaching staff of Falcon Esports. They know how their opponents like to play, and the two drafts that they popped up here with today just ended up breaking through the NIP Flash formation incredibly well, or it sort of took advantage of some of their lapses when it comes to macro control, and they do just that.